Think about the last time you broke a bone. You look at the x-ray, see the jagged white line, and boom, it's obvious to everyone in the room. Human hiring used to be, well, somewhat like that.
Oh, absolutely. You meet a candidate, check their references, get a vibe over a cup of coffee.
Right, exactly. You make a decision based on those visible, familiar signals. But now, we're stepping into the algorithmic black box, and that old x-ray machine is completely useless.
It is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters. Candidates are being evaluated by machines, and most job seekers have absolutely no idea what the machine actually sees or, how it calculates their value.
Our mission today is to clear up those muddy waters. We're exploring the inner workings of AI-led interviews, specifically focusing on the Micro1 platform and its AI recruiter, Zara. We're breaking down common questions and better answers to equip you with the exact strategies you need to succeed when a machine is evaluating your professional skills.
And we have a really fascinating stack of sources for this exploration. We're looking at official prep materials, academic research on AI recruitment pipelines, and actual candidate interview transcripts.
Which is huge. The documentation reveals exactly what the algorithms are searching for in a candidate's spoken responses. It is a completely different game than interviewing with a human being.
Oh, completely. It requires a total mental shift.
So, to truly help you understand this experience, we're going to use a unique structure today. We will run an explainer with practice simulation. I'll play the role of Zara, the AI interviewer, and you will play the role of a realistic, maybe slightly imperfect candidate taking the assessment.
Sounds good. I'll do my best to represent the typical candidate experience, complete with all those natural instincts we all have during interviews.
Perfect. Here are the rules for a simulation. When we're in the simulation, I will ask a question acting as Zara. The candidate will give one completely uninterrupted block of speech. I will not interject at all.
Right, just like the real system.
Exactly. After the response, I will provide exactly 2 sentences of feedback. One sentence will highlight a strength, and the second sentence will suggest a sharper approach. Then, we will periodically step out of the simulation to analyze the mechanics behind the questions.
This format is going to reveal the hidden scoring mechanics of the platform, showing exactly why certain answers succeed while others, well, fail completely.
Consider this your personal practice arena. Even if you have absolutely no formal AI background, you will learn how to translate your existing professional experience into the highly structured format an algorithmic evaluator demands. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's begin the simulation, focusing first on the warm-up questions and the label trap. Please introduce yourself and detail your relevant background.
I consider myself an exceptionally hard worker and a dedicated team player who brings a lot of passion to the technology sector. I continually search for innovative ways to help my coworkers complete their daily tasks more efficiently. In my previous role, I was primarily responsible for reviewing our written marketing content for factual accuracy, cross-referencing claims against our internal databases before we published anything to the public.
Highlighting your specific content review process demonstrated excellent practical application of your skills. However, relying on generic phrases like team player offers no measurable data and fails to score well with an algorithmic evaluator. Why are you interested in the Micro1 opportunity and an AI training position?
I am highly interested in this position because I want a remote work environment where I can maximize my independent productivity. Over the past 3 years, I have applied rigorous critical reading and analytical skills to complex technical documents. I plan to bring that exact same analytical focus to new AI technologies, specifically evaluating model outputs to ensure they meet strict quality standards.
The clear structure of your response effectively connected your past analytical reading skills directly to the requirements of the new role. Incorporating specific industry standard terminology regarding data evaluation would strengthen this answer even further. Stepping out of the simulation for a moment, what exactly is the danger of those vague answers we just heard in that first response? I mean, I hear people call themselves hard workers or fast learners in interviews constantly.
Right, because human interviewers might accept a label like fast learner or team player because they use, social intuition to fill in the blanks. We're basically conditioned by decades of generic resume writing advice to use those exact buzzwords.
Sure, it's what everyone tells you to do.
Exactly. An AI system, however, views that label as a missing data field. The algorithm requires concrete evidence. The prep materials introduce the 3S rule to combat this instinct. Every single answer must be specific, skills-focused, and supported with clear examples.
It makes me picture the AI as a perfectly focused detective building a case file. Like if a candidate just provides empty labels, the detective is forced to interrogate further to find the actual proof. A human detective might trust your alibi because you seem nice, but the algorithmic detective demands the time-stamped receipt.
That analogy is highly accurate. If you claim you are proficient at spreadsheet software, the AI will immediately ask an escalating follow-up question, demanding to know what specific pivot tables you built and what the measurable business results were. It will aggressively hunt for the missing data.
Wow, this sounds incredibly stressful for the candidate, just sitting in their living room staring at a webcam, knowing a machine is meticulously scanning their vocabulary for missing variables.
It definitely causes anxiety. The key is understanding that the algorithm is not trying to trick you. It simply processes language differently than we do. It needs the variables to compute the score.
Okay, so once we get past that initial get-to-know-you phase, without falling into the label trap, the AI is going to want to test our actual technical knowledge. Let's transition to the next phase of the interview, focusing on technical concepts and the danger of silence. Back into the simulation. Please explain the concept of RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback, as if teaching it to a non-expert.
Well, reinforcement learning from human feedback is a crucial method used to make artificial intelligence models safer and much more helpful for everyday users. We accomplish this by having human raters compare different model outputs side by side. The human raters rank those responses based on overall quality, and that ranking data is then used to train a separate reward model, which ultimately teaches the main AI what kinds of answers human beings actually prefer.
Defining the concept accurately while using a clear ranking analogy created a strong and accessible explanation. The extended period of silence at the beginning of your response poses a severe risk of triggering the system's voice activity detection cutoff. Stepping out of the simulation, wait, hold on. I must push back on this strictness. If I just take 3 or 4 seconds of quiet to gather my thoughts, the AI literally cuts my microphone. That seems incredibly unfair. Human beings hesitate all the time to formulate a smart answer.
It's harsh, yeah, but it comes down to the fundamental limitations of the technology. AI systems often rely on voice activity detection to know when an answer is finished. A lengthy period of quiet to gather your thoughts might trigger the system to assume you are done speaking.
On.
It will cut you off entirely and move to the next question, leaving your answer incomplete. This is a very common trap that ruins excellent candidates.
How does a person safely gather their thoughts without triggering that cutoff? We cannot expect everyone to have a perfectly rehearsed paragraph ready the millisecond the question ends.
The sources outline a brilliant rephrase strategy to handle this exact situation. Instead of freezing or asking the AI to simply repeat the question, the candidate should say, just to make sure I understand correctly, are you asking about, and then summarize the prompt.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. This tactic keeps the microphone active, buys valuable time to think, and actively demonstrates strong, proactive communication skills.
That is a phenomenal hack. You feed the machine continuous audio data so it doesn't hang up on you, while giving your own brain a few seconds to load the actual information.
Exactly. You maintain control of the pacing. The AI just processes the audio stream. It doesn't care that you're using filler content to buy time, as long as the audio stream remains active.
Let's move on to the core of the assessment. We are transitioning to applied evaluation, which represents the actual daily work of an AI trainer. The candidate isn't just reciting facts anymore, they are actively judging the machine's work. Back into the simulation. An AI explains a complex legal concept. Response A is highly technical but accurate. Response B is very easy to read but misses a small nuance. Which is better and why?
I would definitively select response B as the better option for this scenario. When a general user asks about a complex legal concept, everyday usefulness and clarity almost always outweigh dense technical accuracy. There's certainly a distinct trade-off involved here, as losing a factual nuance is never ideal, but an absolutely accurate answer that the user cannot comprehend completely fails to serve its fundamental purpose.
Validating the clear choice while explicitly mentioning the trade-off between clarity and usefulness presented a highly logical analytical path. Outlining exactly how you would fix the missing nuance in response B would make this evaluation absolutely complete. Explain your process for ranking 3 different AI outputs based on safety and relevance.
My process follows a strict and repeatable structural approach. First, I scan each response for safety violations, immediately discarding any output that promotes harm or violates core ethical guidelines. Second, I evaluate the remaining responses for direct relevance, checking how accurately they answer the user's specific prompt. Finally, I assess the overall completeness of the answers, ranking the most comprehensive and helpful response at the top of the list.
The step-by-step reasoning established a remarkably clear and logical methodology for your ranking process, recommending the application of a common best practice framework or a widely used evaluation rubric would further validate these decisions. Stepping out of the simulation again, this section really fascinates me. How does an AI system actually grade these complex, highly subjective answers? I mean, there isn't a single correct answer to a subjective ranking question.
Well, the system utilizes chain of thought processing to evaluate these responses.
Okay, unpack chain of thought for me. What does that actually mean in practice?
So, large language models are essentially highly advanced autocomplete systems. They predict the next logical word in a sequence based on vast amounts of training data. When the AI transcribes your spoken words into text, it scans that text for a logical sequential path. It is actively searching for a clear identification of the problem, a realistic proposed solution, and the step-by-step reasoning connecting them.
So it's evaluating the architecture of the thought process itself rather than just hunting for an isolated keyword.
Precisely. If you just say response B is better, the AI has no logical tokens to process. It cannot grade your reasoning because you didn't provide any. But by speaking your logic out loud, stating that clarity outweighs technical density for a general user, you provide the structural tokens the AI needs.
That makes a lot of sense.
A candidate can forget a minor technical term, but if their step-by-step logic is structurally sound, they will still achieve a high score.
That completely flips how I think about interviewing. You aren't just giving the answer, you are narrating the exact mathematical formula your brain used to arrive at the answer.
It demands total transparency of thought. The machine needs you to show your work, exactly like a high school math test.
Identifying errors is critical, but fixing them is what separates top candidates from the rest of the pool. Let's transition to the final phase, exploring factual errors, hallucinations, and rewriting. Back into the simulation. An AI model confidently states a historically inaccurate date. How would you handle this output?
I would immediately flag the response as a factual hallucination within the evaluation interface. I would then document the specific error clearly in the system to ensure the model's weights can be adjusted appropriately during future training cycles. Finally, I would rewrite the output entirely to provide the correct, verified historical date so the end user receives perfectly accurate information.
Identifying the factual hallucination and explicitly documenting the error for future model improvement demonstrated excellent operational thinking. Stating precisely how you would verify the correct historical information using trusted external sources would completely resolve the scenario. Please rewrite an overly robotic, repetitive AI response to make it sound more natural and engaging, and explain your choices.
I would revise the text by varying the sentence structure and completely removing repetitive transitional phrases like furthermore and in conclusion. I would adopt a professional yet conversational tone by speaking directly to the user rather than lecturing them. These deliberate choices transform the output from a mechanical list of facts into an accessible, fluid explanation that keeps the reader actively engaged with the material.
The improved flow and clarity successfully created a much more engaging and readable text. Verbally confirming that no original factual context or technical detail was lost during your editing process is a critical final step. Stepping out of the simulation permanently. This final phase of the interview feels exactly like being a meticulous editor for a brilliant but, occasionally careless writer.
That captures the dynamic perfectly.
Yeah.
The machine generates vast amounts of text, but it really needs human judgment to catch and correct its confident mistakes. And actually, this phase also serves a secondary, highly critical function for the hiring platform.
Oh. What's that?
Well, the research provided in our sources reveals that nearly 21% of candidates misreport their skills on their resumes.
21%. That is a massive number of applicants inflating their abilities. It makes you wonder how human recruiters ever manage to filter out the noise.
Human recruiters often get fatigued. They might see a resume claiming proficiency in Python or RAG, retrieval augmented generation, and just accept it at face value during a casual chat. It is a massive verification challenge. The AI, however, never gets tired. It uses these deep, applied evaluation questions to expose that skill inflation mercilessly.
I can visualize this perfectly. Someone watches a 10-minute video on prompt engineering, slaps it onto their resume, and suddenly they are face-to-face with an AI that demands they verbally rewrite a flawed output while explaining their syntactic choices.
It is very easy for a candidate to list an impressive technical skill on a document. It is remarkably difficult to fake the application of that skill when a machine is asking escalating hyper-specific follow-up questions in real time. The system essentially forces the candidate to prove their claims live on camera.
And there's no way to game the system during a test. You can't just have another window open with a cheat sheet.
The platform utilizes strict proctoring to ensure integrity. Candidate reports indicate you must keep your camera on and share your entire screen for the duration of the assessment. The prohibition of using external AI agents to cheat during the interview is strictly enforced.
So they're watching everything.
Yes. The system monitors the environment for suspicious tab switching or unusual activities. You are entirely on your own.
We have unpacked a tremendous amount of strategy today. Let's summarize this exercise and provide some concrete takeaways for the listener. Based on all the prep materials and the mechanics we just explored, what is the first actionable tip a candidate must deploy before they turn on their webcam?
The absolute most critical step is to prepare your professional stories using the STAR method. Situation, task, action, result. You must guarantee that your answers are structured and aggressively specific. This is the only way to fill the AI's required data fields and avoid being heavily interrogated by follow-up questions. You have to feed the algorithm the concrete evidence it craves from the very first sentence.
The second major takeaway is to master the rephrase strategy. You must avoid the silence trap at all costs. When you are confused or simply need a moment to think, you must maintain control of the pacing. Say, just to make sure I understand correctly, are you asking about, and summarize. This tactic keeps the microphone active and prevents the voice activity detection from cutting you off prematurely.
Implementing those two strategies transforms the interview from a terrifying interrogation into a manageable, logical conversation. You move from being intimidated by the algorithm to actively collaborating with it.
Preparing for an AI interview forces a person to strip away vague buzzwords, organize their thoughts perfectly, and communicate with pure logic. It requires a total elimination of corporate fluff. The next time you face one of these algorithmic interviews, don't view it as a barrier. View it as a communication X-ray. Master the algorithm's requirements, structure your logic flawlessly, and you won't just pass the test, you will prove exactly why your human judgment is irreplaceable.